Hey, this is Notser, and today we're talking submarines, or rather the results of testing from 0.9.4's public test server round 1 and round 2. Wargaming has detailed 3 adjustments that they will be introducing into the submarine gameplay at some point. They're not even detailing exactly what the changes are. And along this same line, I would also like to detail some of my suggestions that would improve the experience for everyone. So, Wargaming's happy for all the feedback. They even signal out, I think, 6 or 7 people. You can go check out the list of people who have played a lot of the public test server and otherwise. But the important thing here is that Wargaming mentions 3 things that they want to address based on player feedback. Firstly, player feedback of what means of protection from submarines will heavy cruisers and battleships have. And for now, Wargaming is committing to, we have some ideas of counterplay against submarines for these ships. Now, that was a concern on the public test server, so the way that they are sort of answering the question suggests to me that they intend to implement some sort of actual counterplay measure for these 2 ship classes. And I'm interested and intrigued on what those could be. Are they depth charges? Are they anti-submarine warfare detection devices? Are we going to have some way of counterplaying the ping in some way? Maybe we can see the ping as it's flying through and maybe actively dodge if we have equipment. I don't know exactly what the heavy cruiser and the battleship will get, but they're getting something. And I think that's a step in the right direction. They've always needed something, especially if they're trying to make the submarine sort of into this weirdly actively engaged combat vessel, which it never was at this time. It was a very sneaky ship. And it is sneaky here, but you can do some great point-blank brawl plays that obviously you wouldn't do that in real life. You're risking too much. Now, it's exciting to hear that counterplay for the heavy cruiser and the battleship is going to be introduced, the direct counterplay tool. Don't know exactly what that's going to be, and I'm obviously hoping for the best. But along those lines, there needs to be more changes. And Wargaming has identified the sonar pings as another possible adjustment. And what they say is counteracting a submarine sonar pings is currently possible by actively maneuvering and directing the bow or stern towards the submarine, obviously denying one of those 2 ping points. And they say for how efficient this actually is, there's not enough information for the player to take advantage of this, so they would like to reintroduce the surface ship's knowledge that they are pinged. And that's obviously great. And I would honestly consider going one step further. And instead of just indicating that they were pinged by something like a situation awareness icon, perhaps they indicate what was pinged or the direction the ping came from. I envision, like sort of taking fire indicator that flashes on a screen for FPS. What if you had some sort of indicator that showed up on your screen that told you that, there's a ping that's being sent your way, or there's some acoustical anomaly occurring and it's coming from this direction. And it could be a loose direction. It could point, like radio location, but something that the player could use to direct their attention so that they could either sail away from or sail towards and defend their ping. I think that would be amazing. But for now, all we know is that they're going to reveal that the ship is being pinged again. And hopefully that is the start of something. Sonar pings are a completely new mechanic in our game, and it's a main feature in the ability to emit pings underwater at targets above and below the submarine. On one hand, it gives more, brings a new type of interaction, I didn't write this, with other ships to the table. On the other hand, emitting itself is not always clear. What is the distance to the target? What is the speed? What is the lead to take? They have plans to make these mechanics more comfortable in the future. So I am envisioning some sort of sonar binocular, sonar velocity that is similar to a dynamic crosshair like nomogram. I would love some sort of, target momentum information on the screen so that I could then use my ping's velocity and line it up with some sort of binocular that has good information so that I can use that to lead the target. I would love something like that so that, you're not homing the sonar ping, but you're giving information so that a player is capable of coming to the conclusion themselves. That's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see what they actually do. Now, those are the 3 things that Wargaming is attempting to address, and they haven't announced exactly how they're going to address it. As far as I'm concerned, all 3 of these chosen changes are good, but I would like to stress a couple other things. It's really annoying to not know the exact depth of a submarine without directly selecting it with X. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with this. This means that aircraft and allies are immune to having this information without directly asking the person. So, you know, like when I was sailing over my friendly submarine, I have no idea if he's right at the surface or if he's 80 meters deep. I think that's an important bit of information that everyone should have, and quite honestly, I think it goes both ways, and I think it shouldn't require the direct selection of the target to get that information. I would really like it if Wargaming would just reveal the depth of the ship to everyone on their health bar. Whatever their default health bar is, it should have some sort of readout that is telling you directly what the exact depth of the target is. Because that's the only way that you can allow the submarine to be an active participant in combat, is to give more feedback on, you know, basic things like, when can I shoot this guy, and when can I... And it removes that annoyance of having to select the target. It removes the annoyance of allies not getting that information. It's a win-win for everyone. So I would really like Wargaming to just incorporate a base depth indicator for every ship, so that at, obviously, surface ships, it's an irrelevant information and it wouldn't be displayed. But for submarines, it would be there regardless of if I have them selected. That's all I'm asking for. And that's going to prepare you. Best example I could think of, I'm trying to do one of my shotgun plays in a submarine. What if the surface ships have a real readout, and if they just look my direction, they can have an understanding of where I am. They don't have to directly select me with X. I think that's a little awkward. And that is something that I think that it would very much improve a lot of the knowledge shared between allies and everyone, for that matter. And it would just make it more comfortable, because unless they're near the surface, I have no idea exactly where they are. So I have to rely on something else, in this instance, the readout of their depth, but that's only accessible if you can directly select them with X, which just doesn't feel right for every other, you know, aircraft and allies. So just please address this. I also saw some suggestion where the icon of the submarine itself sort of has an inverted switch that occurs whenever the submarine is on the surface and is targetable. That sounded pretty useful to me, and it would be a very easy visual guide without necessarily revealing their direct depth. I don't know if Wargaming wants to do it. I personally want the direct depth revealed to your teammates, at the very least, without selecting them. But if the icon had an inverted appearance when underwater and a normal appearance when damageable by surface ships, that would be something that would be very obvious for players, and it would go a long way to making it a more comfortable experience for the surface ship. Another thing that I was interested in is the idea that the ping itself was a projectile, so that I could follow it with my camera while controlling a submarine. You know, best example is, you guys have obviously watched my content over the years, and you know that I zoom in on shells and torpedoes, and I cycle through them to get an understanding, and also I just enjoy the spectacle. But you can't do that with the sonar emitted from submarines. I would like them to create some sort of projectile that I can attach a camera to. Obviously, I don't want a literal projectile that has mass. I just want something that visually cues in the submariner so that they themselves have an idea of where this ping is going, and it could make a really creative visual camera as it's moving through the water at a rapid rate. Thinking out loud about things that are more accessible and usable on surface ships, but submarines, for whatever reason, lack the ability. The other thing that I had was cycling your view. Obviously, on the main game right now, it's sea. Well, that's changing because sea will change your depth, which clearly is more important than cycling your view, but cycling your view is also something that you need to do to be the best possible ships player. So you have to rebind that key, and I just think that this is something that has always been a part of the game, and I would like it to be a part of the submarine. And honestly, I would love to be able to track the dive bomb and the torpedoes from my aircraft as well. I just think that you should always give the player the option to watch, because it really is a spectacle. I love how games are so developed in their detail that just watching it play out is something to behold in itself. I don't need to be in direct control. So I think that works really well for the surface ships. I think you should maybe consider introducing it to the submarine and the aircraft. I think the sub is easier to introduce and is probably going to be more enjoyable for players to experience, because tracking the sonar ping could just be fun. Just move through the water quickly. So those are the things that I have qualms over the subs. I overall really like what Wargaming is talking about in the issues they have with the design. I think that we need to continue to improve this. We still don't know if the consumables are balanced at all, really. I definitely feel like Hydro is very strong, and there's a reason I'm not showing a hydroacoustic equipped DD, because they would have no trouble instantly detecting exactly where the submarine is and going straight to it. The only DDs that are ever going to have this sort of experience are any DD that obviously the hydroacoustic is on cooldown. But pretty much every other DD that isn't German or British or, you know, any of those weird ones like Loeong, they're going to have to like figure out a loose direction that the submarine could be in. I actually really enjoyed this moment in this battle so much that I shared it, and it makes me wish that there was some sort of operation where you're a DD protecting a convoy from enemy submarines, or you're a submarine trying to attack that convoy, or it could be DD versus submarine, sort of asymmetrical teams. The relationship between those two ships is very interesting, and I would love for more. So I'm excited over the suggested changes they're going to do. Hopefully we get more concrete information. Thanks again. Talk to you next time. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to check out more of my content, click the most recent or the most relevant uploads. You could also choose to subscribe to my channel. We do daily Notser videos, first impression, how-to, news, and review related. My North American recruit invite is on the screen. You can take advantage of that. I stream at twitch.tv/Notser. Thank you, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.